Only been a few hours, but it felt like days. Only been days, but it felt like months. Been gone for a year, only know like once. Life moves fast when you do what you want.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Dream Bigger, Live Larger podcast. I am your host, Adeline Lys, and today we will be talking about pouring more into ourselves. So it is February, of course, I got my pink on. I am starting a little mini series on self-love, and basically it's called Season of Love. And I'm going to be talking about how to just pour more into yourself, having more confidence, and just making sure you as a woman is going through, has been going through so much, but is pouring more into yourself and loving themselves and having self-care and just doing the damn thing for you. So enough of me rambling. Let's get straight into it. So yeah. All right. So I wrote down 2025 just started and many people are rebranding themselves, meaning they're changing everything about themselves. New year, new them, right? But what does that mean, pouring into yourself? Basically, finding and discovering who you want to become and sharing your growth, right? I feel like January was very long. And I feel like January was like 1 year in itself. But in all reality, it's just like, let's be real. Everyone wants to do something different. Each year, when the new year has just started, everyone wants to become their better self and do something different for them to grow and evolve and do what they want to do, right? But sometimes we forget or neglect ourselves in a sense. Like, we put so much pressure on, we need to do X, Y, and Z, but we forget, like, hey, you're just a human. You're only one person. You can't do it all. Just relax. I feel like when you're pouring into yourself, it's just figuring out what you want, what you like, what you dislike. But it's more about protecting the woman you want to become, right? The woman you want to become, you have to envision. You have to really see the end goal and become the end goal. So if you want to be a great businesswoman, if you want to become a nurse, if you want to become just self-sufficient of who you are, you have to look at the end goal. Last week, I was on a call, I could say a mentor session with Adeline Lys. If you do not know who Adeline Lys is, she is Slay Girl Slay podcast. She is the host. I joined her mentorship. It was only for 1 day. And she explained to me, to all of us that was on the call, all the girls that was on the call, that in order for us to know what we want and what we want to do, we have to make sure, like, we have to stay grounded and also know, like, it's not going to be fun all the time. It's going to get boring becoming the person you want to become because it's the same routine over and over and over. But you have to ask yourself, okay, are you willing to go through that over and over to become the person you want to become or do what you want to do? And it got me thinking, like, since it's going to be boring, as she explained, what am I doing for myself to be at peace and to just understand, like, hey, if this is who I want to become, it's going to have to be a routine, but I need to know, like, self-care, self-worth, self-love. What am I doing for me to be happy mentally, physically, emotionally, right? And this year, I promised myself that I will be more consistent and disciplined with my craft and I have to push myself, right? But when I think about my goals, if anyone thinks about their goals, if anyone thinks about what they want to do, how they want to do it, and executing the plan, it gets overwhelming at times. And you forget who and what you need to do to become that person, right? And it is really something that you have to understand, like, hey, let me figure out what's going to work for me. I can't do what everybody else is doing. I can't do what everybody else is, how everybody else is moving, right? In order for me to know what's going to work for me, I need to understand, like, I can't maneuver how everybody else is maneuvering. I can't literally do what everybody else is doing. I keep saying it over and over and over again because I want people to understand that your craft and what you want to do has to be your vision and your journey, right? I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be very transparent. I've been going through a lot these past couple of weeks, right? And I've been really just trying to understand where I fit in and the support system I need for myself. And when it comes down to, when I say support system, I'm not just saying like people only around me, but the support system I need for myself. Like, what do I need to do for me to feel comfortable, for me to feel heard, for me to feel like, okay, I got this, I could do this. Because I can't sit here and say I'm pouring into myself, but I'm draining myself. I cannot say that. I can't be like, hey, I'm doing X, Y, and Z, I'm loving it, but I'm really not. I have to be really real with myself. The support system I need, I have to be that, like, what I want from other people, I have to be that for myself, right? I also wrote down, I've been observing my actions and understanding that I need to pour more into myself, but be kind to myself. Knowing that in order for me to enjoy and become the woman I want, I need to take it day by day. In any goal you want to accomplish, it doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter your race, it doesn't matter whatever the case may be. Anything you want to accomplish in life, you have to be patient with yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself because it gets crazy, it gets overwhelming, it gets stressful. So what do you have to ask yourself? What can I do to make myself feel at ease? Whether it's taking myself out to dinner, to lunch, turning my phone off, going MIA for a couple days, like unwinding and pouring more into myself, and meaning like maybe I could just do nothing. Binge watch Housewives of Potomac. You know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta make sure that I'm just making sure I'm not putting so much on myself where I cannot show up for myself. Don't drain your battery because you feel like in order for me to reach my goal, in order for me to become the woman I want, in order for me to do the X, Y, and Z, I gotta like go hard or I have to go home. No, relax. And I hate when people used to preach about like, hey, in order for you to be successful, you gotta lose sleep. You gotta lose sleep. You can't sleep. What? In order for you to be successful, you gotta sacrifice. Of course we gotta sacrifice. But if I'm drained and I'm not showing up for my best self, how can I be successful? Like, y'all have to understand, self-care is the best care. So when people always talk about those motivational speaking videos and like, oh, you gotta sacrifice, you gotta do X, Y, and Z, you gotta wake up 5 o'clock in the morning, I don't gotta do shit. The only thing I gotta do is what works for me. Like I said in the beginning, I gotta do what works for me. Just because it might work for you, it won't work for me. And I really watch those videos where it's really motivational, don't get me wrong, but when people work their 9 to 5 and they come home and they say, I work my 5 to 9. That ain't Adeline. That ain't me. I know my limits. I know my job. I know how stressful it can be. I'm not going to come home and do another shift of 4 hours of 5 to 9 because I have to, be successful and do what I want to do for my podcast. No, I know my limits. I know that once Monday through Friday, I come home, I'm unwinding. I'm making dinner. I'm taking a shower. I'm watching my show. I'm reading my Kindle. I'm doing what is best for me. But on Saturdays and Sundays, I know those are my free times where I could record videos and I could edit and it could be ready for Monday. But for me to work after I just worked a 9 to 5 and I come home and do another session of myself and working again, I can't, because it's going to be overwhelming. That's not me. It might work for you, it won't work for me. I need time to be patient. I need time to understand, like, hey, yeah, if I'm gonna be successful, I need to find my route. I need to find my journey. I need to find something that is gonna be beneficial for Adeline. I also wrote down, sometimes self-care is not Sometimes self-care is not what it is physically, but what you need to do mentally. So self-care is just not getting your hair done, looking dolled up, getting your nails done, getting a pedicure, a spa. Sometimes we have to work more on the mental. How are we making sure that we're feeling okay, that we're not feeling stressed and overwhelmed, and our head is so, like, we just are stressing over so much? How can we work on ourselves mentally? And don't get me wrong, when you look good, you feel good. But how about we start feeling good on the inside? How about we start maneuvering, like, okay, let me isolate myself for a couple of days and let me just see what I want to do and what's going to be beneficial for me to show up and show out. Because we sometimes neglect that self-care. Sometimes the reason why we do self-care is because we're stressed. And it's all up here. What we're doing in our day-to-day life. Our routine. The stress. Everything. You know what I'm saying? So you got to understand, like, yo, I might look good on the outside, but do I feel good on the inside? Pouring into yourself at the season of love and this, series I'm creating is knowing who you are and what you bring to the table in your confidence. Okay? I want everyone to understand. Oh, not Savory talking to me. I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, it's just knowing who you are and becoming your best self. Stop listening to what people want you to do and stop listening to social media. I'm not saying don't get inspired, but be realistic. Do what's best for you. Okay? So we are at the end of our episode. And you know what that means, the solution part. I wrote down, dream. Envision what type of care you need to be your best self. Live. Know what you need and become that person. And don't rely on people to save you. Be your own superwoman and understand that in order for you to get up and show out, you have to get up. Get up and show out. Okay? That is all I have for this week's episode. I hope you guys love this week's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and listen on Apple and Spotify podcast. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Love you guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.